Welcome back to the channel, everybody. Listen, they can't stop the setup. And you know what? Ripple and Coinbase, they say, wait a minute. We want this Trojan horse of stablecoins in your system. And if you try to stop the yield or whatever that is going on, we're going to lobby against you. We're going to take a stand against you. I love this era of activity. There's just constantly things happening. You can see the progression of the agenda moving forward. And there is an agenda. You know what? I don't see the U.S. Treasury standing against that idea. And I say that because they're a powerful backer of the idea of stablecoins. That's why I say that. Scott Bessent is behind the idea of stablecoins. So I don't see them going against it. They have a lot of connections. If RLUSD is in the system, XRP is right there. It's right there. That doesn't function. You don't get that bridge currency aspect liquidity without XRP. And what did they say? They want XRP everywhere. They want that bank money, but it's more than that. I think, now this is just my opinion. They know if stablecoins make their way into that system, in that system, their bank runs, everything else are exacerbated. It happens quickly. At any point, there's contagion caused by that. They know if that industry goes down, it's not even just about stablecoins. That's just one more stick of dynamite. But if that legacy system goes down, who inherits the throne? Bank coins, Ripple, Hedera's, even Coinbase. I don't consider them a bank coin, but, they have their base and stuff like that. But, the new financial system inherits the throne, which means what? That means those prices explode. For the last 4 years, you have different representatives coming out of Ripple telling us it's all about XRP. They told us a few key things. It's all about XRP to the point where Brad Garlinghouse, does he have 2 XRP tattoos now? I think we're up to 2, but I could be wrong. Maybe I read that article. I didn't read that article correctly, or I don't know. But he has XRP tattooed on his body. Not RLUSD, XRP. So when a person like that and their company says that XRP is at the crux of everything and they want XRP everywhere, I believe them. I see the vision. I see what's going on. That's one. They also said liquidity, liquidity, liquidity. Why 3 times? What do they know that we didn't? That maybe we know now. All of the financial system globally needs real liquidity. What they have is false liquidity or sabotage liquidity. Even their false liquidity is being sabotaged from the inside. Insiders want their system to go down. If that system goes down, those insiders make a ton of capital and acquire a lot of power because they got the ones currently sitting out of the throne in that position that they want. They remove them. That's what happens. So they're playing a 2-pronged game, and they're very serious. We're going into hyperdrive now, folks. Every day there's like 2 or 3 things happening, very significant. By the way, if you like this type of content, take those powerful hands of yours and boom, 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 hit that like button. I humbly ask. Let's read this little tidbit here. So this article is titled, Ripple and Coinbase join 120 plus firms to lobby against stablecoin reward bans. I feel a flow coming today. I do. Some days I'm like a little choppier. I've been a little bit more tired, but today I feel like we're flowing. Let's get into this right here. So this is what it says. More than 125 cryptocurrency companies. This is how you know it's serious. You have the banking industry going against the banking industry. You have the crypto companies. And by banking industry, I do include every single politician that backs the legacy system. That small portion of the legacy system that's still in denial. And they're like, oh, I don't know about crypto. Stop it. You're profiting off of crypto already. You're going to use DLT systems. We have the best of the best systems. And not only that, we have the corridors to do business globally, which I know you don't want people to know. You don't want them to know that banks, all of these banks, are sending payments all across borders all the time, trillions of dollars. And there's a problem with that. That's why what happened recently. Did you read the articles I posted? What happened recently? I believe it was in those articles. They put the focus. They say, hey, private industry, we know you're good. I'm paraphrasing, but you can read it yourself. or you can look it up. They said private sector, that's Ripple, Hedera, Chainlink, Solana, etc. There's other companies, but they're at the forefront. Listen, we have a problem. That's what the banks are saying. We have a problem. We want you to focus on interbank payments globally. That's what we want you to focus on. Now, those companies don't have to listen to that. They don't have to follow what they say, but it's just good business. Why not? They're going to take that anyway. Cross-border is what they do, but interbank payments is what they were built for. Trillions. How does that affect the price? Wait a minute. Let me read a little bit more. I'm trying to get my spot back. Hold on. More than 125 cryptocurrency companies. They're all going against them. Investors, trade groups have urged U.S. lawmakers not to reopen a provision of proposed stablecoin legislation, warning that changes could reduce consumer choice and slow innovation. Right. It'll slow the takeover, right? You want the takeover now. It's not just the crypto companies anymore. The large asset managers. Never underestimate that backing. But here's the thing about them. They tend to stay quiet. They do things from the shadows. Woo! They're from the shadow. That's my shadowy, spooky. Woo! They do things from the shadows. Quietly. That's why now, if you understand that frame of mind, where my entire life they've done things from the shadows, from what I've observed, then it was strange. That's why it was strange to me. You had Larry Fink coming out and, and he's doing interviews and he's talking about how they want to get Wall Street involved. What? That was telling. So continuing forward from the Larry Fink thought, it continues here. It says the Blockchain Association and dozens of signatories, including Ripple, Coinbase, and Stripe, addressed a December 18th letter to Senate Banking Committee Chair Tim Scott and Ranking Member Elizabeth Warren, saying efforts to reinterpret the Genius Act would go beyond what Congress originally approved. Why are they going over it? I don't even understand that. What was the reason to reinterpret it? Let's continue. Industry warns against reopening settled compromise. The Genius Act bar. Why are they doing that? Maybe another mystery has popped up, which probably would be very easy if we know why they're doing that, who's doing it, right? Look into their backgrounds. And their connections. That's what I mean. Their connections. It probably will be pretty apparent why they're doing that. To slow things up. It slows things up, doesn't it? It will slow up the inevitable. I'm just brainstorming here, giving certain entities a little bit more time to get in position. Well, why are you saying that, Mick? Because we literally read documents on the channel where the banks, this is why I believe you don't have to, but I believe it's very important to read those bank documents. And they literally said that some of the banks, the problem here with speed and implementing the new financial system is some of those banks just literally, they're not technologically ready. Most people are overestimating how technically advanced banks are. Two, they don't have the manpower to build what they need to play their part in that infrastructure, deployment of infrastructure. That makes sense. You have to train your employees. They don't have that. You have to have technical expertise. They don't have that. There's a shortage. That's two. And there was a third thing I wanted to bring up, but they're not ready. Oh, yeah, capital. They claim they don't have the capital to expend on this. And in that, you can find in the SWIFT documents. Right in those SWIFT documents, they complain about the affordability and being able to reallocate capital towards something like that. It will be detrimental to them, right? So maybe those are the ones, possibly. They're like, well, we want to be involved. That's for, like I said, I firmly believe for large entities, powerful entities, it's going to be like free money on the table for a while. There's going to be so much scrambling between retail, small businesses, medium-sized businesses, large asset managers, everybody pulling their money into things like XRP and Bitcoin. At some point, I do, not financial advice, but I do believe those prices are going to skyrocket and everybody's going to be just grabbing. I actually feel it's going to be the most dangerous euphoria of all time. Let me put that out there. I don't think I've said that too many times. The most dangerous euphoria, because it will feel so good at that point. People will believe this is going to continue long term, and it's not at all. And I think that's where the danger is going to come in. And I think that's the real setup on the legacy system part. They know people will feel too good and when you get too relaxed, that's when life tends to come and hit you with a haymaker, a stiff jab. So it's all a setup. So maybe that's what's going on here. There's more setup happening in chess, folks. And I know chess doesn't actually represent life because there's no one to flip the board over, smack the pieces off. I mean, there's so much more. Life is just so much more dynamic than a game, right? Even chess. But in chess, there's a lot of dimensions that are equivalent to life, right? And it's all about the setup. You trick your opponent, trap them. All the greats, Kasparov, Carlsen, Fischer. Well, Fischer was more known for his openings, right? But Hikaru, they're tricky. They trap you. They set you up with the openings and just demolish you, just feast on you in the middle game. But it was tricky that entire time. They put this piece out here, let you bite, take that piece. That's how these banks and these people think. It's all about trickery, deception, setting traps. There's traps all over that chessboard. There's traps all over here. There's correspondence between strategy in all spheres. And I have to say that because some people, they speak to me as though they really believe there's no trickery, no traps, no deception. I'm like, why? Why would you think that? That's found everywhere. In boxing, you hide one punch with another punch. Jab, boom, right hand. Like you hide things. In wrestling, a head tap, boom, into a double leg or single leg, whatever. But it blinds you. See that? Boom, that's what you see. Boom, then they're in on your legs. It's a deceptive practice to get that one move ready. And that's what they're doing right now. They're doing a lot of setup, a lot of traps for the ultimate end game. Quadrillions flowing through things that they hope mostly they will control, even though you and I are still involved. They don't care about that. There's 8 billion people on Earth. So if 1 million have this asset, that's nothing. That's nothing, right? To them, that's how they think. And many of those people that are of the millions, if there's millions involved in bank coins still, they'll sell early, right? But that euphoria, whew. All right, so they're doing this. So that's one thing here. Okay, let's go here. Wait. There's more. So then you have that happening in addition to things like this. If it'll pop up, come on, Yahoo, don't fail me now. Somebody's like, that's not Yahoo, Mick. That's your computer. You're right. It's twofold. Some of these websites just have so many pop-ups going on. And then also, yes, I have a lot of tabs open as well. So I'm not doing my computer anything good by having it with tons of, did I say tabs? I hope I said tabs and not pop-up, but tabs open. That probably slows a lot of things down as well. But this article is titled Federal Reserve Moves Toward Narrower Crypto-Driven Take on Master Accounts. And yes, I see something deeper happening here because I know the problems that are going on inside the Fed. The Fed is to oversimplify it, they're getting ground and pounded. You remember that? That used to be major in the UFC. Long time ago, wrestler take you down, dirty boxing on the cage, get you on the ground, full mount, and just punch in the elbows, right? That's what I see the Fed going through right now from all sides. So I believe they're looking at crypto and saying, let's get close to DLT, the new financial system. Let's get close to them. Firstly, we can benefit greatly from them, the Fed. I'm speaking as though I'm the Fed. We can benefit greatly from them. 1, 2, we can insulate ourselves. If we use the technology properly, we can insulate ourselves from sabotage. And it's not about the Fed itself going away. It's about careers being on the line. Everybody wants to move up and work somewhere better, a better, higher position. They can't do that if it looks like the Fed is doing a bad job. Their legacy is on the line. All of them think this way. This is why certain times you saw Jerome Powell sort of flip flop or remain so neutral. It's like he's not even saying anything, even though he's moving his mouth. No disrespect, sir. No disrespect. But it's because he's worried about his legacy, career. What do I do after this? Who do I work with after this? Because believe you me, it doesn't matter how old you are, you're in the business, you still maintain those connections. Sometimes you can have connection and you're benefiting from a company or something like that, whether it's through consulting or anything. But it's your reputation that carries you through and gets you those connections. And that gets you that passive income. It's pretty much passive income. From whatever you do after you leave the mainstay of what your work is. So, yeah, so I think that's what this is about. They're playing nice. They're making room for the DLT, new financial system companies, so they could possibly get closer to them first. You're going to see this continued fight between the Fed and the U.S. Treasury over who pulls the new prince on the block, the new queen on the block, whichever one you prefer. DLT, the new financial system, over to their side. The Fed and the U.S. Treasury have something to prove against each other. You can look this up. This battle's been going on for a while. Who's in charge of what? Who's really the power? Who gets the credit? It is a clear view of human ego, and its positioning of itself at this perceived top position. It's been going on for a while. It's very clear. But let me read this little tidbit to you. It says this: the U.S. Federal Reserve took a first step toward establishing a more limited version of its so-called master accounts, welcoming input on how the central bank might formulate, quote, payment accounts, unquote, that would grant access to its payment rails without firms having to jump through the considerable hoops that would grant fuller services. So making it easier. Why? You make something easier if you intend to be on its good side. You intend to utilize it. You intend to work with it in the entities that put it forth. All right. The Fed said in a Friday statement that it was requesting information on how to satisfy the incoming requests from firms that rely on new technology to more easily tap into services, quote, for the express purpose of clearing and settling the institution's payment activity, unquote, according to a board memo on the concept. The public comment window will be open for 45 days. This also pushes the new financial system agenda forward that much more. This is significant. We're seeing a lot of great activities lately. The buildup is gigantic. Period. Like I want it to be this way. I don't want it to be dry and nothing's happening. Then it takes longer. No, I hope things happen as quickly as possible. But right now it's moving at a great pace. I think this is the best that we can get right now for things happening. We have acquirements happening by the new financial system companies. We have treasuries being built. We have implementation of different infrastructures, new corridors being activated. New companies being brought in. Like there's so much going on right now. Legislation, positive. So now, okay, let's go here. I think I had 2 Bitcoin articles, I believe. Yep, I believe I do. All right, so now here we go. So once again, we're back on Yahoo Finance. They've been doing a good job collecting these articles. This article is titled BlackRock's Bitcoin ETF racks up $25 billion in yearly inflows despite BTC price dump. Really? Hold on, let's scroll down past the giant picture. Spot Bitcoin ETF investors. You know what's interesting? Let me just comment on the picture real quick, okay? Let me comment on that. Some of these pictures, they look like they're made in a very old school way. And that leads me to this thought. I'm not against. Now, I don't trust AI when it comes to like when you look something up. I used to in the past, I tried ChatGPT, and it just seems that it gets a lot of things wrong. So if you're using that to look things up, it's very dangerous. So I don't trust AI in that way, unless you're looking up history or something like that, or maybe philosophy. But other than that, I don't even trust it on that to a degree. But what I do like from it, I do like some of the pictures that it generates. If you're just going to use it for something like on an article, some kind of money picture with a Bitcoin sign on it, I do like it for that. I do. It comes up with some interesting stuff. So, hey, listen, Yahoo Finance, I know they're probably not watching the video, but if they are, or anyone else is, I think it's okay to use that kind of stuff on your website. It's visually is eye-catching. So anyway, that's just if you're going to put a giant picture there, let's make it something interesting. Let's make it something, that prompts thought. It's just not just dollar bills laid out with a XRP symbol over it or Bitcoin symbol over it. You know what I mean? No disrespect, but I'm just saying, I think that's okay. All right, here we go. Spot Bitcoin ETF investors may have shown. Sorry, I did a whole lot of this. Somebody's like, stop that, Mick. That's how I know to put the chapters. Spot Bitcoin ETF investors may have shown themselves to be anything but momentum chasers this year. While it's no secret that BlackRock's iShares IBIT Trust, I messed that up, has been a wild success since it opened for business in January 2024. Data compiled by Bloomberg's crack ETF analyst Eric Balchunas shows that success in another light. My apologies. It's like I'm trying to process what they're saying at the same time reading it. So far in 2025, IBIT ranks 6th out of all ETFs in inflows, bringing in more than $25 billion of investor cash. In a list of the top 25 funds by inflows, ranked first in Vanguard's S&P 500 ETF with $145 billion. And ranked 25th is the iShares S&P 100 ETF with $10 billion. Of the entire list of those 25, noted Balchunas, IBIT is the only one with a negative return for the year, down 9.6% as of midday Friday. Even the SPDR Gold ETF in 8th place with $20.8 billion took in less money than IBIT, despite showing a massive 65% advance in 2025. All right, so this is pretty good activity. It says, quote, crypto Twitter's knee-jerk reaction is to whine about the BTC return, unquote, said Balchunas. Quote, but the real takeaway is that it was 6th place despite the negative return. Right. I like that perspective. Quote, that's a really good sign long term. I respect this type of information. I was saying it before that, and I wasn't going by this type of information at all. I'm going by, you see the resilience. It goes down to 88, comes back up to 90, 90, 95, 80, drops down to 83, 84, whatever, goes back up to 88. That's good resilience. It shows that someone is in there that wants to stay in there. All right, here we go. So now, last article here, Bitcoin. And all the catalysts remain strong, in my humble opinion. Resilience looking good. And I can't wait for Bitcoin to shock everybody. I can't. It's going to be a fun time. And I think people are going to enjoy it. People feel down until they're up. And when they're up, they quickly forget that they were down, like energetically is what I'm talking about. This article is titled Bitcoin Recent Dips Reveal Market Structure Issue Not Coming from Selling Pressure. The recent volatility in Bitcoin market pullbacks is being widely interpreted as a wave of selling pressure. But the underlying data tells a different story. On-chain metrics show little evidence of broader holder distribution, suggesting that these dips are not being driven by investors exiting their positions. Is that so? Instead, the weakness in price appears to stem from market structure issues. These Bitcoin dips aren't coming from selling pressure. They're coming from stablecoin denominated shorts. Really? The co-founder of Glide GG, Sweep, revealed on X that when large amounts of leverage enter the system through dollar or stablecoin, market makers don't just let the price move. Their mandate is to remain neutral because neutrality demands balance. They achieve this by selling spot BTC. Really? This is good information. Share, once again, share this around. If you like this type of content here, take those powerful hands, boom, 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 hit that like button. All right. This is not because they're bearish. That's not where they're selling, but because neutrality requires it. As a result of that, the price drops without fear, panic, and without real spot. The United States doesn't need to doesn't need to dump assets to influence global markets. It exports dollars. Those dollars become leverage, while leverage creates synthetic pressure, which in turn forces hedging. And hedging hits the spot markets. That's the cycle. This is why recent sell-offs feel empty, because retail has already left. Ooh, whoever this person is, let me go back. Co-founder of Glide GG. Never heard of it before, but whoever this person is, Sweep, that's explaining all of this. Good job. Good job. Can we get a few more interviews with Sweep? Can some of you big time, or if anybody's watching this, who is a big time article writer, or you run some of these big time websites, can we get some more interviews with this individual? Where'd this individual come from? Somebody's like, we hear about this person all the time. I haven't seen this person's name before in articles. And why not? If the person has this much knowledge, this was good. And it was entertaining. And it was informative. I like stuff like that. I like to learn new things and see new perspectives, right? All right. So currently, the market is rebalancing within a system priced against a weakening currency, and all markets are now dominated in a currency that's losing purchasing power. Ooh, this person's shooting it straight. I love it. That's why volatility rises even when conviction doesn't change. This isn't a bear market, he says. It's clearing the liquidity providers, LPs, which is how big players buy BTC cheaply without ever owning it. All right, folks. So now that you have that information, what are you going to do with it? I know what I'm going to do with it. So until next time, everybody, let's get to the money.